Hi there. Today I want to talk about a concept called interleaving or interleaved practice, a secret enhanced learning technique. To learn more about it, all you have to do is Google interleaving. Um, what it means is, and what this interleaving research shows, is that if we compare two forms of learning, one where you what they call massively or as a block deliberately try to learn certain information or a particular skill, sort of massively, deliberately, in a focused way. And if, on the other hand, you have another group of people who learn one skill or one bit of information, then move on to another bit of information, and so they're sort of interlayering or interleaving their learning, what happens is, according to the results of a number of tests, that those who study in block massively will learn that particular bit of knowledge or skill better in the short term while they are doing it. They'll learn better than the other group that are learning in a staggered or interspersed way. But in the long run, the interleaved or staggered learners will do better. And this is apparently new, and they're looking at the reasons why this tends to open up connections between neurons in the brain or whatever. But the results, without getting into the neuroscience, the results seem to be quite clear. And I Googled interleaving, and there's a lot of sites, and I read a few of them, and I invite you to go and read it. And to me, this justifies and confirms to me the validity of what we do at LingQ. Because if I look at my own sort of learning strategies, first of all, even before we had LingQ, I would typically buy 2 or 3 starter books, whether it be Asimil, Teach Yourself, Colloquial, not just one, but a variety, so that I'm not trying to ace Teach Yourself and learn everything in Teach Yourself. All I'm trying to do is expose myself to some of the same material in different sources. The second thing is, when I study at LingQ, as I've said many times, my initial strategy and my initial goal is to increase my familiarity with the new language, to acquire a lot of vocabulary, to be able to understand what I read and listen. It's not immediately to be able to speak. Again, because my experience has shown that if I understand what I hear, if I have vocabulary, if I have developed familiarity with the language, I will be able to speak. And so I can actually delay starting to speak until later. I do look at grammar rules, but again, not massively, not with the intent of trying to learn it. And I have tried that. I have tried looking at German declension tables or Russian declension tables or French conjugation tables and sit there and try to get it in my head, but it doesn't work. Whereas if I casually look at it as a kind of refresher, and then I go back to reading and listening, and I start to notice some of those situations, over time, when I go back for the 3rd and 4th and 5th time to look at those rules, eventually they start to relate to something that I actually experienced while listening and reading. So I am interleaving in that way. Another way in which I interleave is that when I'm reading a text, first of all, I vary easy material and difficult material. When I'm reading difficult material, there are a lot of unknown words, blue words at LingQ. So I then have to deliberately go through and look those up on the dictionary, in the dictionary, which is connected to LingQ, of course. And as we know, most things you look up in the dictionary, you will immediately forget. However, I've looked it up in the context of this article that I'm reading. When I look it up, the blue word is converted to yellow. When I next encounter that word in another text, or when I read the same text over again with all the blue words converted to yellow, I'm forced to try to remember that word, which mostly I don't remember, so I click on it and I see it. Every time I'm clicking on these words, I'm actually testing myself. And one of the things with this interleaved learning is that you should regularly test yourself. But if you're learning a language, every time you are trying to make sense out of a text, every time you're looking words up in the dictionary, every time you're listening and trying to understand, in fact, you are testing yourself. So with this approach, you are constantly testing what you have been exposed to, what you have learned, what you are trying to get the brain to absorb. So there is this constant testing that's going on. Another way things are interleaved is if I move from different subject matter, always subject matter of interest to me, because I think that's a major motivator. One of the problems with sort of block studying tables, declension tables, is that it's not a lot of fun. So people very quickly lose interest. But say in the case of, with my Korean learning, listening to Kim Young-ha's podcast on literature, even though I didn't really understand it that well, I was strongly motivated to understand it, and that kept me going. And gradually I understood more and more. And now, as I'm learning Ukrainian, I'm quite motivated to understand what people are saying. So I will read these Ukrainian texts, save words and phrases, converting blue words to yellow, read it again on my iPad, where all the words are now converted in yellow, and I can touch on them and see what they mean, and slowly, but without ever expecting to master anything. I'm not block trying to learn anything. I'm just exposing myself, laying these layers down, but motivated very much by my interest in the subject matter. And so this is also, I think, a form of interleaved learning. I do occasionally go through my flashcards. As I've said before, in my own case, I put the new word and the translation and the captured phrase all in the front. So again, I'm not trying to learn these words. I'm just going through them as exposure, as part of another layer of learning that's kind of going on. In the case of Ukrainian, I haven't yet looked at any grammar resources because I'm sure that it differs some from Russian, but let me first wait until I have enough experience with the language, then I'll go and look at how, different cases or whatever differences there are in Ukrainian. I'll deal with that later. So again, it gets back to this idea of not massively, deliberately, in a focused way, trying to learn and master one thing, but rather exposing yourself to a variety of different things. I may talk to people. Again, I haven't yet spoken to anyone in Ukraine, and I don't think I will for quite a while. But in the case of Korean, in my 90-day challenge, in 90 days, I think I had a total of 13 hours of conversation. Not an awful lot, but I improved. So that was kind of layered in there as well. Never, for example, with my conversations, I wasn't expecting to do particularly well or expecting to achieve anything. Of course, we like to improve, but it was just another form of exposure, another activity. I wrote, because that was one of the goals in the 90-day challenge, and I did a bit of that. Not necessarily expecting to get it right or anything, but it was all part of this gradual interlayering, interleaving of different exposures to the language. Always challenging myself because I have to try to write, I have to try to understand, and so forth. So I think that a lot of what we do at LingQ and why it is so effective, I think can be explained by these articles on interleaving. Now, I might be quite selective in this, trying to, find a justification for LingQ where perhaps there isn't any. So I look forward to counter arguments from people out there. But in any case, go have a look at this whole issue of interleaving. I think it's very interesting. Interleave as leaves and leaves on the tree, interleaving. So go and have a look, and I look forward to your comments. Bye for now.